Most men don't quit loudly. They don't make an announcement. They don't post online saying, I gave up on myself. No. Most men, they quietly drift. They still go to work, still pay bills, still show up physically, but internally, something changes. The standards slowly drop. The discipline fades. The fire they used to have becomes weaker. And eventually, they stop believing their own words. Not publicly, but quietly. And I think this is happening to way more men than people realize. I'm Dion Dalton, the founder of Push Alliance, where I help men who know they're capable of more become the kind of person who actually follows through. Not through motivation, but by rebuilding self-trust through real execution. Because most men are not completely broken. They're functioning, but functioning and fully alive are not the same thing. I mean, there are men right now making decent money, but they know they're underperforming. Men with families who love them, but deep down, they know they haven't fully become the man they're capable of being. And that internal gap, that's the problem. I know this because I've lived parts of it myself. For me, it happened after my fourth failed business. And at the time, I was investing in real estate in DC and PG County, Maryland, and I completed 4 fix and flips during a down market with a partner. Then the market shifted. Prices went up, competition increased, and because of inefficiencies in our process and limited resources, we got priced out. Now, in hindsight, I should have fought through that problem. But at that time, I eventually went back to my IT consulting career, my 9-to-5. And honestly, at that point in time, I was relieved. The paychecks came every 2 weeks. Life felt more stable and a lot less stressful. But months later, I started realizing something. I was existing, but I wasn't really living intentionally anymore. I'd wake up, maybe go to the gym, go to work, come home, maybe work on a little idea, watch a couple of series of an episode, try to hump on something, then go to sleep and repeat that cycle the next day. And from the outside, everything looked fine. I paid my bills, took care of my responsibilities, showed up for my family and friends, but internally, I knew I was underperforming. I knew that wasn't really who I was. I wasn't pushing myself anymore. I was alive, but I wasn't fully engaged with my own life. And honestly, I think a lot of men are there right now. And because of my experience in that place, I realized something important. Most men don't actually have an information problem. They know what to do. The real issue is deeper. Most men have slowly lost trust in themselves. And once a man stops trusting himself, everything becomes harder. His health, his business, his leadership, his confidence, because self-trust is the foundation that execution sits on top of. And if you don't trust yourself to follow through, you can't build anything consistently. And this doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, repeatedly. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow comes and you don't. You say, I'm gonna shake back and get back on track soon. But you don't. At first, it doesn't feel like a big deal, but every broken promise does something subtle. It lowers your belief in yourself. It weakens your identity because your brain is always watching your behavior and it starts to learn. This is who I am now. And that's the real damage. Not the missed workout, not the skipped task, but the loss of self-trust. Because once a man stops believing himself, execution becomes inconsistent, then rare, then optional. And eventually, men start adjusting their standards to match their behavior. You used to train consistently. Now you try to. You used to attack goals. Now you overthink them. And the most dangerous part is you normalize it. That's just life. I'm busy. It's hard right now. But deep down, you know you're capable of more. And that quiet frustration, that's not weakness. That's your higher standard trying to wake you up. And we can't blame it on not knowing. Knowledge isn't the problem anymore. Most men already know what to do. We live in the most over-informed generation in history. People consume podcasts, YouTube videos, books, courses all day long. And yet execution is still rare. Why? Because information doesn't create action. Execution comes from identity, standards, structure, and proof. That's why someone can watch 100 videos on discipline and still not execute consistently. Because the issue isn't intelligence, It's follow through. And when a man knows what to do but doesn't do it, he starts avoiding that truth because it's uncomfortable. So instead, he distracts himself. He scrolls, consumes, and procrastinates. Not because he's weak, but because facing that gap between who you are and who you know you could be is exhausting. And that's why most men don't need more motivation. They need proof again. Proof that they can follow through. Proof that their words still mean something. That's where real confidence comes from. Not hype, proof. And most men remember a version of ourselves that felt different, right? Where we were more driven, more focused, more disciplined. But over time, life pulls us into survival mode. More responsibility, more stress, more distractions, more comfort. And eventually, they stop leading their life. Now, life leads them. Their phone controls their attention. Their schedule controls their energy. Their emotions control their behavior. That's identity drift. And it's dangerous because it's quiet. A man can lose himself long before he admits it. And when a man stops respecting himself, he feels it, right? That's where irritability, frustration, low energy, and disconnection come from. It's not weakness, it's misalignment. Because a man who can't lead himself will struggle to lead anything else. His family, his business, his future. And that's why execution matters. Execution is not just productivity, it's identity training. Every time you follow through, you reinforce who you are. And eventually, that becomes automatic. And this is why I believe that we should use fitness as a mirror. This is why fitness matters. Not because abs are everything, but because fitness is honest. It's measurable, it's visible, and it's hard to fake. You can lie about productivity, you can exaggerate progress, but your body, your consistency, that tells the truth. Your body reflects your standards, not your intentions. And that's why getting lean is deeper than aesthetics, right? A six-pack is visible proof of invisible discipline. It shows that you can follow through, you can stay consistent, you can delay gratification, and that you can execute. And all of that transfers into business, into leadership, and into fatherhood. Fitness becomes the proven ground, right? It's where many men rebuild trust in themselves for the first time in a long time. Now, here's the good news, right? Men can rebuild themselves, but not by trying to change everything overnight. That's where most people fail. They go all in. Extreme workouts, extreme plans, extreme expectations, and they burn out. The real path back is different. We want to start smaller, but become consistent. We want to keep our word every day because self-trust is built through proof, not motivation. Proof, repeated. And that's why standards matter, not preferences, right? Standards. I train, I execute, I follow through. There's no negotiation. We want to add structure and we want to remove distractions. We want to stack those small wins because those small wins become evidence. And that evidence becomes our identity. And we don't think our way into a new identity. We prove our way into one. Even with my current business, Push Alliance, something I built from nothing into something real. I've had moments where things slowed down, challenges hit, doubt crept in, and I asked myself a real question. Am I actually who I say I am, or was that just a version of me at a different time? And when that question hit, I didn't go look for motivation. I went back to something I knew was honest, which is fitness. Because fitness doesn't lie. It doesn't care what you say. It responds to what you do. And more importantly, it relies on me and me alone. I don't need to convince anyone. I don't need a team. I don't need external validation. It's just me and my execution. So instead of trying to fix everything else in my life, I focused on just that. Showing up, training, and being consistent again. Not perfectly, but consistently. And what I started to notice was when I said I was going to do something and I actually did it, I felt different. Not hyped, but firm, right? Solid, like I could trust myself again. And that started stacking, right? Day by day. And eventually I realized something important. I didn't need to become someone new. I just needed to remind myself with proof that I was still that guy. And once that was backed, locked in, everything else started to move again. And that's what brought me here. Because I know there are other men who haven't quit, but know they're not where they should be. Because most men don't just want success. They want to respect themselves again. They want to know if I say something, it gets done. That's real confidence. And when a man has that, everything changes. He moves differently. He leads differently. He lives differently. Not because life got easier, but because he got stronger. So if you've been inconsistent, frustrated, tired of starting over, you're not broken, but you do need to rebuild trust with yourself. And that starts with action. Daily proof, kept promises, because at the end of the day, you don't need to become someone new. You need to become who you already know you can be. And that starts the moment you stop quietly quitting on yourself. And if you like the content in this video, there's a lot more coming. Subscribe to get it first and be one of the first 100 subscribers. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.